Brandon Marshall was also speaking a little bit yesterday as he was on ESPN's First Take. And, the format of the show, it's built to get some type of reaction from the listener. Marshall triggered the South Louisiana crowd, specifically the New Orleans Saints, with his comments he made yesterday. Here they were yesterday on ESPN's First Take, sitting alongside Max and Stephen A. Smith.
So what kind of numbers do you think he puts up, Brandon, with Tampa Bay?
It doesn't matter. It's going to be the same Tom Brady. The only thing that matters right now is wins and losses. And I promise you this, they will win the division.
So that was only one of our years. Sometimes when that happens, some of the listeners can't hear it. But basically, it was Brandon Marshall saying that the New Orleans Saints are done for and that their window has closed, guaranteeing that Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers will win the NFC South, saying that Sean Payton's essentially a choke artist, talking about how you're going to have Mike Thomas, Alvin Kamara, Drew Brees, a defense that became one of the best in the league by the second half of the season and then lose in week number 1. And I thought Marshall's comments, look, I get why he's doing it. As you said, I mean, that's the name of the game. It's the same reason why you have Rex Ryan out there calling, was it Stephon Diggs that he called a turd?
Yeah.
I think, you got to know how to get a little juice. You want to get on get up? You want to stay on get up? You got to know how to get a little juice. Well, I think the best part about this story, though, outside of Marshall's comments, which I think are absurd. I guess let's start there before we get into the Saints' responses to it. But to say that their window is closed when they're bringing back the same team that just went 13-3, was on the doorstep of a Super Bowl 2 years ago, I just don't buy it.
Well, and there should be a caveat with this setup when talking about Marshall. Marshall got a workout and a tryout with the New Orleans Saints, and he got some run after the Dez Bryant experiment didn't work out because of the Achilles injury on the first day of practice. And Marshall was waived. I don't know if he's got sour grapes by the way that he was treated by New Orleans and Sean Payton. And obviously, like T-Bob said, and we just explained, the platform and the format of First Take is to say some kind of crazy things that can hopefully push the news cycle throughout the day and be something that's regurgitated.
And we're talking about it.
So, absolutely.
Shout out B. Marsh.
But it's geographically specific to this part of the world and being talking about the New Orleans Saints. And I don't believe that the Saints' window to win the Super Bowl is over. I think moves like Malcolm Jenkins and going out and getting veterans like Emmanuel Sanders proves the mentality of the upper management and what Sean Payton's thinking about, that they do have just a couple of more runs. This is probably it feels like the final one, though.
It feels like it, but, just whatever. At this point, Breeze, there's no point in speculating on Breeze's future. Yeah. Just force yourself to be in the moment. Enjoy it year by year because, I see no reason beyond me just feeling like how in the world could you stay motivated that Breeze may not play another year? Like, we don't know that, and we don't know what form of year this is going to take. There are no fans of the game this season. Is he going to want that to be his last year in the NFL? Right? Is he going to want to, come back and get to show off once more? I mean, he's a showman. He is, like we said, the inverse Kirk Cousins. He wants the fans there. He needs that juice. So, yeah, that story is far from written, and the window's wide open. It went 13-3 last year. Yes, very disappointing exit in the playoffs for 3 years running now. But you've been in the playoffs for 3 years running. And as long as you're making the tournament, your window is not closed.
You've won the South the last 3 years.
Yeah, and that is a bit of a double-edged sword because people then use that to be like, well, then why haven't you won a Super Bowl? But, I mean, it's the why haven't you won a Super Bowl criticism so easy to make. Only one team wins it each year, right? Like, I'm a bit more level-headed. If my team is relevant to the Super Bowl, they're relevant to the 1 seed race throughout the season, that is a team whose window is open. And I thought the responses to Brandon Marshall was pretty funny. Sean Payton's Twitter fingers have been on fire lately. But he calls him a fortune teller with some little gif. Cam Jordan said that's despicable with a Daffy Duck gif. Jermon Bushrod hit him with the stop it, get some help Jordan meme. Very appropriate. Give him the drop. But Mike Thomas, the man, keeping it real, he called it what it is. He tweeted, he's trying to get a job on TV. He don't mean no harm. Our window don't close until I say so. And whoever disagree can go pull my file. He just playing the game. Don't take him too seriously.
When the best speaks, you listen.
I mean, pull his file, which I did. And I found, just looking at Mike Thompson's Twitter, I found a couple of interesting numbers. Just remind me how great Mike Thomas is, and kind of Christian McCaffrey as well. Christian McCaffrey and Mike Thomas are the only players in NFL history with at least 300 catches their first 3 years.
Oof.
How about McCaffrey is 303?
Yeah.
Mike Thomas 321. And then how about this stat? Mike Thomas, what a legend, has 30 games since 2017 in which he's caught at least 7 balls, so 7 or more. DeAndre Hopkins second on that list with 25. And then Travis Kelce and Devontae Adams are the only other players that break into the 20s. And he's at 30. Mike Thomas is unparalleled. Pull his file. The window doesn't close until he says so.
And really the most impressive part, and you could argue that Thomas, amongst all those superstars that you just rattled off, that's next to him on that list, is more impressive because the Saints don't have another threat.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody's game planning each week to try and take 13, not to limit his catches. They're trying to take him out of the game.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, we've only seen one team successfully do it. Did Los Angeles do it in the NFC Championship game where they just threw 3 people at him?
Yeah,
ultimately.
Yeah, and then, I mean, even something like maybe the Vikings game last year where the whole offense was disappointing. One of the, I think, common denominators between those two games was less about Mike Thomas and more about the line. Just, you kind of lost that battle to some
never have to
great
worry
D-lines.
about 13.
No.
You're never going to have to worry about 13 and whether he's ready to play or he's going to be one of the big-time players in a big-time game. I mean, he has, as we described last year when he signed the contract, in which I believe is probably the most impressive thing to do in sports outside of the team accomplishments. For me, an individual, the most impressive thing to do as a professional athlete is to earn and get the big contract and then outproduce it.
Then set the record.
Then play.
Then be the NFL's all-time leader in catches for a season.
And think about it. I mean, Thomas, for as good as he's been every single year, his best year was after he got paid.
Yeah.
I mean, it's...
And my instinct is to be like, hey, well, and one factor in all of this is that Drew Brees is so good at finding the open threat no matter what that you can't take out Mike Thomas, because if you do, you hurt him other ways. But then again, Teddy Bridgewater came in and Mike Thomas didn't miss a beat. He's the man, well worth the money. He called B. Marsh for what it is. He's absolutely right. And as long as Mike Thomas says the window ain't closed, so Saints fans, you can go to sleep feeling very good about your black and gold team. To go back to B. Marsh real quick, I think this bears mentioning. Evans Bushnell in the Facebook chat points out that Brandon Marshall should not comment on playoff losses because he was never on a team in the NFL that made the playoffs, which I find shocking.
Gross.
He actually has more receiving yards, which I just feel bad for him, but more receiving yards than any NFL wide receiver in history to never make a postseason.